I'm a first generation Filipino American. I'm rocking the Barong Tagalog here for any Filipinos in there. My parents came here from a far off place and gave me a great opportunity. And I started from the bottom as a production assistant, worked my way up, and was so blessed to be able to walk down that aisle at the Emmys and win an Emmy Award in 2017. So I'm very honored to be on this panel. I love my job, and I will say that for career advice, one thing one of my mentors taught me, and I have a lot of mentors, but one of them told me to be positive and just come into the office beaming with a smile and just share that positivity because it's very contagious, and it's one of the things that people will remember when they're hiring down the road, and they want to be around people that are fun to be around and carry the glow, if you will. So that's my first piece of advice. We got a lot more, but thank you so much for having me on this panel.
Do y'all feel the glow? Do you feel the glow? Is it permeating through the World Wide Web? Can you feel it? I don't know. I'm kind of blinded by that gold glow in the back of Augie's office. It's something gold and glowing. You can see that we have a very accomplished panel this afternoon, y'all. Bringing up the rear, last but certainly not least, the beautiful and talented, the visionary and entrepreneurial Miss Anya. Come on, pretty lady. Introduce yourself. Tell us about who you are and what you love.
Thank you, Tish. Really appreciate being here. Hi, everyone. My name is Anya Goldsby. I'm an attorney in Connecticut. I'm also the founder of Black Esquire. So I am all about increasing the BIPOC representation of lawyers. Only 5% of lawyers in the United States are Black, and less than 2% of them are Black women. So I feel honored and humbled to be one of that 2%. I went to college at Bryn Mawr, graduated in 2011, spent a couple years working at a large New York City law firm before I went to law school at the University of Connecticut. So as I mentioned, I currently practice law here. I am super excited to be here with you guys. I'm also very involved with my community, very involved in diversity, equity, inclusion initiatives. I'm also on the board of directors for the ACLU of Connecticut and other community organizations that affect criminal justice issues and education. And so all of that is just really important to me. If I had my best piece of advice, there's so much that I got, and I echo a lot of what has already been said, but I think that that piece about mentors is really important, but not just enough to have mentors. You also want to make sure you have sponsors. And the differences between the two of them is that a mentor is somebody you can go to, you can ask them questions, and you can go to them for advice. But a sponsor is somebody that's going to be speaking up for you when you're not in the room. So it's very important that you are your authentic self, as I believe it was Marvis who said, because when people see who you are, sometimes you might not even know that they're paying attention to you. But if you are yourself, you're amazing. People are going to be talking about you and you don't even know it. And so definitely make sure that you make those genuine connections with people. And the last thing I'll say about that is to also make sure that your sponsors and your mentors are not just people that look like you. You want people that look very different, right? Because we all have different things to bring to the table. So just because you're a Black woman doesn't mean all of your mentors need to be Black women. I've got some amazing mentors that are white men, and they have been amazing and cheerleaders for me. So I just wanted to give that piece of advice, and I'm super excited to be here. So thank you, Tish.
Anya, that is just a fantastic golden nugget right there. I want to say this just because we are at a first gen conference where we have a large audience of people of color. Yes, absolutely. Get those mentors and build your tribe with people who don't look like you, but not at the expense of diluting who your culture is, not at the expense of putting someone else's before yours. Know self first. Love self first, because you do them and yourself an extreme disservice by not knowing and loving self before others. So I thought I'd put that little nugget in there. The church don't have to say amen. I know that was good for me. I'm gonna say amen. How about that? Okay. Listen, in our Circle of Change digital workbook, everybody, all of our students know that, of course, you've been looking and reading through that book. You know, there are tips in there on resume writing. There's tips in there on your elevator speech. There's tips in there on interviewing tips and things like that. What would some of our panelists recommend in the area of elevator pitch or resume writing or resume formation, or even interviewing skills that you could offer for some of our students watching now?
Yeah, I would say one thing is you want to make sure you don't overdo it. You know, you have that first chance to make that first impression. Okay. So if you're looking at resume writing and you're only expected to have so much experience, you don't need a 4-page resume. Okay, at this point. So make sure you concentrate on what your expertise is in and that you can convey that. If you're talking about an elevator pitch is not an interview. So you want to make sure you keep that nice and concise, enough information so that you can follow up. So you can grab the information, get a business card, convey information, share information, things of that nature, but make sure it's not too exhausting. The other thing you want to be careful on is, yes, resumes are looked at, but you know what people look at too, your social media. So be mindful that it's not all of the spring break antics and everything posted there, but then yet you're trying to apply for this role and be serious in that opportunity. So I would say keep that in mind. And again, ask questions. Okay, be a sponge. You're there to find out information. So don't have a problem at all in asking questions, anything of that nature. And then ultimately, I know people say, okay, well, I'm looking for this job. I'm just looking for money. Don't chase the money, but instead pursue the goal of fulfillment, and the money will chase you. Okay, so be happy at what you do.
I think I would add, as you're preparing for your interviews, do your homework. Understand the company that you're interviewing for. Understand the culture. Know your interview panel. Who are your interviewers? Do some LinkedIn stalking. Find some commonalities between you and your interviewer that you can then turn into some form of conversation or either questions during the interview process. I love that Marco brought up the resume and keeping it concise, but also make it personable. Going back to authentically you. Are you going to add a picture there? Are you going to highlight some of your language proficiencies or any other skill sets that you have there? I would also say if you can tailor your resume to the jobs that you're applying for. So find those keywords that are in the job description and see if there's any way for them to be incorporated in your resume as you're writing out the different job descriptions in your work history in your resume.
That's good. Yared, what do you have to say about that? Interview tips, resume formation or revision, and then your elevator pitch.
Sure. I've probably seen thousands of resumes come through, and we don't have sometimes the time to spend on reviewing each and every single one of them. So I will tell you from a recruiting perspective, we probably spend about 30 seconds or less at a resume to see whether or not the candidate will be a good fit. So just as my peers had mentioned, those are definitely exceptional tips that we definitely want to look at. One of the things that I think also kind of stands out is the objective, is being specific on the role that you're looking for, right? So seeking a job in computer science for Tesla, proficient in C#, .NET, whatever that may be, right? You're already kind of hitting it strong. We know that that's what you're looking for. So that definitely helps us out. And as Marvis mentioned, having those keywords along the way, because it is definitely a very kind of quick to the point glance. In terms of your elevator speech, the only thing I would just add to that is just close it up. Close it up with a follow-up meeting, which is maybe a coffee meet and greet, a quick virtual, chat with the individual, and just to gain more information about the specific role or what you're going to bring to the table. So that would be something I would definitely just make sure that you kind of keep in mind.
Yared, may I jump in on this part, because I may have this point of clarification for some of our student listeners here. The applicant tracking system, doesn't a resume need to get past that first? Or that is, and maybe those who are not familiar with the applicant tracking system on here, does as a recruiter, is that the process that you all use?
Yes. And I would probably say most of the companies also go through an ATS, an applicant tracking system. A lot of the recruiters or hiring managers will say apply online, which when you do apply online, that is internally our application tracking system. What we do as recruiters, we will go internally into that system and we'll type in specific keywords that we're looking for. So I'll go back to kind of a software engineering role. If I'm looking for someone that is very strong and proficient in C#, I will go in and type C#. So those resumes will pop up for me that to view already in this kind of specific category. So it is very important to be able to just kind of have those type of keywords, key messaging, which goes back to the job description. What does the job description have? What are we looking for in a candidate? And then look at your resume to see if that's something that you already have. And if you don't have those experiences, I go back to kind of what I mentioned in my initial introduction is creating a roadmap, right? So in that roadmap, what do I have or I don't have that I need to evolve on or educate myself in to be able to put in my resume to be considered for a role? I hope that answered the question.
It did, and you took the words right out of my mouth because I was going to tell our students you're going to have a couple different versions of your resume.
Oh yes,
one is not a one size fits all. You literally get the job description, you get your resume, and you have to tweak that thing to customize it for the job that you're applying for. Okay, because you will be like Willy Wonka and go into the bad egg file if you do not have those keywords that Yared was just speaking of that they are specifically looking for. Okay, no, but that was perfect. Augie, what do you think in terms of interview, resume, and or elevator pitch tips before we move on to our next?
Yeah, thank you, Tish. And I just want to echo definitely what some of the other panelists had said. For sure, be concise. You know, we don't have time to look at 3 pages of a resume, even if you have all that experience. Keep it tight, keep it concise. But to what Marvis was saying, you know, you have to be authentic. You have to be passionate, especially when you're speaking. If you can speak passionately about what you want to do, it shows. It really does. And so that's something I think you should do. One of the things I would recommend is something called Toastmasters. If you are not familiar with it, it's a worldwide organization that allows you to practice speaking in front of people in short increments. So you can practice your elevator pitch, 3-minute, just quick go at it, but then also practicing longer form speech and being able to really hone in that skill set, because it is a skill set and people sometimes don't realize how long they talk. So it's an art. You need to do that and be concise on both paper and verbally, but just get up, practice, get up there at bat. If you have right now, nowadays Clubhouse, where I found Dr. Josh is a great place to practice. Get in there, practice speaking and being concise and getting to the point and not yammering and just going on and on about stuff. Be concise but also to the other panelist's point, remain authentic and be passionate. And I think if you follow those things, you'll be in a good place. Oh, last thing, in entertainment, it's who you know. So if you do know people who are at that job you're trying to get at, having them on your resume as a reference is great. But like, if you don't know anybody, get to know them, like to the point of networking, like find out, go stalk their LinkedIn page, find out who they are, offer them a $20 Starbucks coupon to talk to them for 5 minutes. They might not even take it. They'll just be like, I'll talk to you, it's all good. And then next thing you know, you have a person on the bottom of your reference at the job you're trying to apply at. So those are a few things. Thank you.
And don't put them on your resume if you don't know them.
So when you're talking about your resume, elevator pitch, I like to call it a value statement. So I think everything that I teach and preach to my clients is about value. You need to know your value and you need to know your worth, and you have to be able to effectively communicate it to the people, to the audience when it matters. That is how you get yourself ahead. So in your elevator pitch value statement, you want to keep it brief and concise. There can be a shorter and long version, but I think you need 3 things. Number 1, who are you? Number 2, how you add value. And number 3, your why. So if I'm introducing myself to a group of people, it's, hey everyone, I'm attorney Anya Goldsby. I'm the founder of Black Esquire. I equip BIPOC pre-law and law students to achieve their lawyer dreams by using their value. That's one short version of my elevator pitch. And the reason why it's important to have that down is, especially when you're in interviews, you can set the tone for the entire interview by having that memorized and ready to go. Most interview settings, that first question is going to be, hey, tell me about yourself. You can go in and tell them about yourself and lead that entire conversation instead of leading it up to them. So I think it's very important that you know your value and you can communicate it effectively through your elevator pitch. And then everything else, I think everybody already said. I just echo it and hope that helps someone.
This is our first rapid fire session of our panel, everybody. These questions came right from the students themselves, pre-submitted. One question is, and you have 45 seconds to answer, and let's go one panelist to the next. First question, when do I start looking into graduate school and or law school? And Anya, you're on my screen, go.
Yeah, you can start looking into it as early as possible. Again, I think somebody talked about networking. I think that is very important. The most important thing, I think, when it comes to getting into law school is understanding your why. Why are you interested in law school? Why do you want to go? What kind of community do you want to serve? What kind of clients do you want to serve? If you understand that why and your purpose for doing it, then you can move on to the next specific steps, which would include obviously getting your transcripts together, making sure your grades are important. First and foremost, if you're still in college, focus on your grades first. Then you can worry about the LSAT, then you can worry about your letters of recommendation, and you can come to a great coach like me. So that's all I got.
There it is. Next panelist.
There's not a time that's going to be too early. I mean, the same way you say I'm getting in, I'm declaring a major, same way you say I may change my major. So at any point, if you say you want to go to law school, if you say you want to go to graduate school, you can start looking into that early on, start getting into the process. If you know you're going to be taking the LSAT as that's a possibility, and then you want to take some training and some courses to prepare you for the LSAT. If you want to be doing some things for grad school, you can have various undergraduate majors and still go to grad school. So it's up to you to kind of figure out your direction. Generally, it may be sophomore, junior years, but fill it out. Take your time, fill it out. You have those 4 years. Sometimes it can be a little longer, but you have those 4 years to kind of make up your mind and figure out what you want to do exactly.
Yeah, I agree with Marco. It's never too late. I didn't go to grad school. I don't even have a BA or an AA. I have a certificate from a community college, but I also have an ME. So it doesn't matter. You just start learning.
You better say it.
You just start learning whenever you want to learn. You want to figure out something, start figuring it out now. I didn't know how to light a fire, and I went and watched a YouTube video, and now I know how to light a fire. So it's never too late. Just start learning whatever you want to learn. Just don't. Nobody's telling you when to start. Just start whenever you want.
Hey, y'all, did Augie just throw shade on everybody that got a college degree on here? I don't have a degree, but I have an ME. Excuse me. What I said, sir, ma'am, I have an ME. I love it. Come on, y'all.
I love it. I love it. Let's see. So I agree. There really is no time. I know that when I was in college, I had no idea or clue what to do, what to go, where to go. I think after I graduated from my bachelor's degree and I started working, that's when I started thinking about grad school. And if it wasn't for a mentor of mine at that time, then that's when I was able to kind of go into the whole grad piece as well. But I want to go back to what Anya mentioned is what is your why? And I think that is an amazing call out is why do you want to go to grad school? Why do you want to do this? Why? And if you don't have an answer for it, then you need to really take a step back to really figure out what is the why. So that's what I'll just leave it at.
I'm aligned with the rest of my panelists, and Augie just dropped the mic, so we're good to move on. It's
perfect. Let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving. Kim wants to know, when it comes to resumes, does appearance matter? Should we try to make it pretty? Or I think maybe what she might be trying to say is reader friendly.
I would say it just depends on the job. Like if you're trying to get a graphic design job, you want to have a nice graphic design looking resume. But if you're doing something just fairly basic, you can have a more simple template based resume. My resume is from a template from Microsoft Word. It's all good. But do I want to have a nicer bougie one? Yeah, of course. I do kind of have a nicer bougie one for my public speaking. So technically I do have one. So there's different resumes for different things, and some of them could look nice, some of them could look regular.
I think if it's corporate or creative, regardless, it needs to be readable. It needs to be efficient. It needs to get, your point across. So however you design it and set it up in that nature, but it still needs to be something that could be, work on your behalf. So you just want to make sure, maybe you don't want the font size to be 4. Where somebody, if they don't have LASIK, they can't read it. Maybe you don't want to, maybe a picture doesn't need to be the 8x10 on it, save some of that for your bio. So you just want to make sure that you're effective enough and know that competition is heavy. You're not the only person applying for these roles. So whether you're meeting the prerequisites, whether you're making sure you have the detailed information, you're not applying for a job if you don't match it with the skill set at all. So, you just want to make sure you follow the job description and set forth the best effort that you have in providing your background and your expertise.
Yeah, I would just briefly echo that and say with your resume, I can tell you in the legal profession, don't get extra. Don't put your picture, don't put colors. We are boring. Keep your resume boring, but clean and simple to read. Your name should be the biggest thing on the page, and you should not have any font smaller than size 11, and make sure it's readable. That's what I would say.
And just to piggyback on that, every organization probably has their own way of receiving resumes. So just do your research ahead of time on how they want to see that come through.
I love it. And in other words, Anya, right? In other words, don't do like Augie said and have a bougie resume. We got a question from our people. Augie, I love you. They want to know, and Anya, you were amazing at the beginning of the panel when you talked about sponsor and mentor. A student wants to know, how can you find a sponsor?
Well, mentors, I think you specifically can make the ask. The first time I had a mentor, I was working at a large New York City law firm, and there was one Black woman partner who was just amazing, and I was nervous, but I knew I loved what she was doing, and I just asked her in the elevator one day, really nervous, "Excuse me, would you be my mentor?" And she said yes, and she's still one of my mentors today. So just open your mouth and ask, because opportunities won't come to you. Sponsors, though, will come to you by you being involved in things and putting yourself out there. Nobody is going to speak up for you if they don't know what your voice is, right? So speak up and advocate for yourself so that others can advocate for you as well.
I have another question from the beautiful Carla. She wants to know if any of our panelists had a weakness. I don't like to say weakness, an area of challenge. If any of our panelists had an area of challenge, how did you turn it into a strength? Did you turn it into a strength? And if you did, how?
I'll take that because yes, I think all of us have weaknesses, call them speed bumps, weaknesses, anything of that nature. So what you do is you just in turn work that much harder. You're more dedicated, you're more passionate. My weakness can be, maybe I'm a perfectionist. So I can say, things of that nature. My weakness can be, I don't take a lot of vacation time. And so you heard me mention I have kids. So I have to make it a point to say, okay, we have to set up a vacation time because you do need to re-energize yourself and things of that nature versus just being a workaholic. Think too, just learning. When you come in, you may think, okay, I can do so much, but you have to understand the system, how things operate, how companies operate, personnel you're reporting to, and things of that nature. So when they say you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, you need to listen. You need to find out what works best within an organization and how to operate. So I think all of those can kind of be things you have to say, that wasn't my strength, but then yet coming into the organization and seeing how I can be more innovative and creative and useful and contributing to the ongoing success of the company was something I had to figure out.
Augie, Tanya wants to know, did you do Toastmasters yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's actually connected to the last question. I kind of realized I needed to work on my pitching, and I was having a hard time at work getting to a producer, like expressing what I wanted to say. And so after this job, I was like, I need to get better. And I looked up Toastmasters, went to a club and started practicing. It was 2018, I think, summer of 2018. So it's been a couple years and it's been tremendous. It's given me great opportunities. I got to practice a speech I did for my college. They named me Alumnus of the Year, and I spoke in front of their commencement ceremony of over 14,000 people. And I was like, whoa. And luckily Toastmasters was there for me. I got to practice my speech and it made it better and better. So it's super affordable. Look it up. I highly recommend. You could do virtual meetings. It's all good. It's great. It's a great time with like-minded people who are very supportive.
All right, fantastic. So everybody knows now on social media, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or wherever you're on social media, people are having this how it started, how it's going. Y'all seen those before, right? The how it started, how it's going. So I remember Marvis came to Circle of Change his very first year he was at Netflix. Now 5+ years later, he's international. He's still with Netflix. So however it started, it still must be, right? Panelists, somebody give us the how it started, how it's going comparison and why you don't quit. Like, let's get to the real. Let's talk about the real. Anybody jump in?
So I guess I can start by saying I didn't start in the field of entertainment. I knew that that's what I wanted to do. I graduated with a degree in broadcasting, but I was working while in school, raised by my grandparents, paying for school out of pocket. My summer and winter months, I didn't get a chance to internship because I was working. So when I graduated, I didn't have those connections. I didn't have that network that we're hearing people talking about. So I had to settle for a role at the Princeton Review. And I started working in education because that was a paycheck and it was allowing me to pay the bills and provide the roof over my head. But I knew that that wasn't what I wanted to do. I knew that that wasn't going to satisfy me. So I went back to school to pursue my master's in film production. And, you know, luckily, thankfully to God, was able to move out on my own and find my own place. But when that happened, I also was laid off at the Princeton Review. So I was at the bottom. I was at the bottom. I was at the bottom trying to figure out how the hell I was going to pay for this roof over my head, food on the table. But I had a positive support system around me. I had friends who were also unemployed, striving to land their foot in the door in their career. I had friends who were studying to pass the bar exam who had failed the bar multiple times. And I'm so thankful that I had those people around me. I was unemployed for less than a year before I got my role at NBC Universal on our cable operations and diversity team. It was a very humbling position for myself. I was in my late 20s and I'm here bringing folks garbage cans and chair mats and managing office moves. But I did it with a smile on my face, as Augie mentioned, and a shirt and tie. And I had visibility to the senior executives, the presidents of Sci-Fi Network, USA Network. And I was able to network and let folks know like, hey, I might not have the traditional experience on paper, but I've been working in production for years. I've been a PA on commercials, music videos. I have the skill set to work on the marketing production team. And in less than a year, I was able to transition over to the Sci-Fi marketing production team and start producing shoots to support our 360 marketing campaigns around the globe. That role led me to travel to London, to Africa, to Australia, places that this young Black kid didn't think that he could go coming from Brooklyn, New York. And after 5 years at NBC Universal, God blessed me with another opportunity to work at Netflix, which moved me to Los Angeles from New York, leaving everything I ever knew, all the people I ever knew on the East Coast to take a chance, to step out on faith. And here I am 5 years later. I've had multiple positions within Netflix, sat across our publicity team, visual communications team, Latin American team, lived in region in Brazil, growing a team there. I'm now on our product creative team. Do you understand the challenges that I am facing right now and learning every day? I'm growing, I'm working with data scientists, engineers, mathematicians to figure out how to make the best product experience for us and how our creative speaks to our millions of members around the globe. So if I would have given up when I got laid off at the Princeton Review, or if I would have given up when I was bringing
Marvis
hands and chair mats, I would not be here. Here, I'm so incredibly blessed and grateful to where I'm at today. And this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. So that's my how it started and how it's going.
Come on, somebody. How it started and how it's going. Woo!
Sorry, I'm just so intrigued. I love it. Thank you, Marvis. Obrigado. This is fantastic. Oh gosh, where did I'm trying to kind of go back. I started it many years ago, but I'm coming from parents who were immigrants, immigrant myself, came here really not knowing, didn't have any guidance. My parents, of course, didn't know what they needed to do to get me through college or to even get a foundation of what I wanted to get into. And I think I just struggled a lot when I was even in college, trying to figure it out. I did intern, I wanted to be in journalism, and I did intern at Nickelodeon and MTV. And Telemundo, and I just kind of felt, you know, this is not for me, which I'm glad I did, but there was really no one to guide me along the way, so I kind of had to figure it out. At that time, I was working as a waitress, going to college full time, had 18 units. My internship was at 4 a.m. in the morning on Fridays, so I had to get up early and just grind it out. But then through that, that just kind of helped me understand, like, where is it that I want to go through? My father, probably one of the biggest influences of my life, he has shown me the work ethic that is needed. And I think work ethic is really what has led me through where I am today. Similar to Marvis, I didn't get to travel to London or Brazil and all these fabulous places, but being a girl from Inglewood, California, always up to no good. It was really hard to just even get out of that city life. So I remember I was working at Hilton, LAX Hilton, and Nestle came and they did this meeting, and I was their meeting planner. So I kind of planned all the logistics for that particular meeting, and they had a meeting planner for them. Well, anyway, I made sure I worked my butt off for them. I was up all hours of the night, making sure that they had a spotless meeting while they were there. And the meeting planner, 6 months later, reached out to me, said, I felt like, not felt, but she's like, you did such an amazing job. Your work ethic was fantastic. She's like, how would you like to come work for Nestle doing meeting planning? And I was like, oh, okay. And she said, there is a problem though. I don't know if this might be something you're up to, but you're going to have to travel a lot. I was like, oh, that is not a problem at all. So one of the things I've always said to myself is always say yes. Say yes to the opportunity, because you just never know what's going to get you to that. So I ended up working at Nestle for about 7 years. I got to travel all over the states to places that I never even heard of. Oxford, Ohio, one of them, but it was just an amazing experience to be able to go to Canada at a company's dime. And to just experience so many different cultures around the country. So along that, just a long story short, from there, I wanted to make sure I did more. And then I relocated to Northern California, where I got married, had my little babies, and now I'm now working for Tesla, which I am still in awe and in shock at what I'm doing. And just being at a company where the CEO is just mind blowing, doing some amazing things. So just being part of something so big, the only thing I can say is always say yes. Regardless of whether or not you know the role, regardless of not you think you're going to be able to do it, just give yourself that opportunity, say yes, and sky's the limit from there.
I love it. I love it. Thank you. Oxford, Ohio is where Miami University is. I am an Ohioan, so I know these things. Let's go to our second.
So Tish,
Yes.
I'm gonna say this really quick, funny story real quickly, because I have to, because this is how maybe a little bit ignorant I was on this Oxford, Ohio piece, because I did not
Okay.
know about Miami of Ohio. So when they
Okay.
told me that I was going to Miami University, I'm thinking to myself, I'm gonna do a little Puerto Rican accent in Miami, Florida. I'm super excited, right? So, and then my boss is like, no, this is in Oxford, Ohio. And I
Yes.
was like, oh God, okay. So I'm renting a car,
Yes.
little girl from Inglewood, renting a car, going through some cornfields
Yes.
to Oxford, Ohio. And I'm thinking to myself, what did I get myself into? But that was the beginning of an amazing journey. And I think from there, you just say yes and kind of see where the road takes you. But note to self, Miami of Ohio.
Second rapid fire section. This came actually from a student. I felt like it would be worthy enough for us to ask, because we can't always, assume everybody knows these things. A student said, "Can I wear a regular shirt and still be considered a viable applicant?" Now, I guess regular, I don't know if they mean regular like t-shirt, or I don't know, but can I wear a regular shirt and still be considered, it says an applicable applicant, but I said viable. Somebody want to address the
I would say you dress for the job. So you're trying to dress at some cool hip shop that where they only wear t-shirts, then wear t-shirts, because you're not going to want to roll in there in a tuxedo. But if you're going to try to get a job in the entertainment industry or someplace that has a different standard, then you're going to want to dress up a little bit, and because you represent the company. So just keep that in mind.
It goes back to understanding and doing your homework about the company culture. When I was interviewing for NBCU, I had a button-down shirt, blazer, and a tie. When I was interviewing for Netflix, I was looking like my man Augie with a button-down, loose neck, really business cash, relaxed. And you got to understand the culture that you're interviewing for.
Yeah, I would agree. Culture for sure. I think in the legal profession, if you showed up in a regular shirt, that's not going to fly. So you want to make sure that you have for gentlemen, a jacket and tie. For women, at least a dress and a blazer, and keep things fairly simple. But again, you still should be your authentic self at all times. So I think it's okay to show a little splash of your personality, but you may not want to show up with, I don't know, your hair dyed purple and then polka dots and glitter, and that might be a bit much. So just, you know, do your homework, and you could still be true to yourself, but keep it under the terms of the job.
So
And
Charles,
if you have to question it, if you need to go overdress versus underdress, you can always take the tie off. You can always take the blazer off. But if you don't have that and you're in the meeting, you're stuck.
all right. So of course, your 90-day period, you get on your new job, you have this kind of probationary period, first 90 days. Advice for our first gen students. What would your top 2 key pieces of advice be for first gen students, for every person to implement during that first 90 days at their new job? Top 2 skills.
I think this is for everyone, but understand the core functions of your job. I think that is the most important thing you can do in those first 90 days. There are a lot of times where a job description may say one thing, but when you actually get into the position, you may have some additional responsibilities, or there may be some responsibilities that actually go on someone else. So take that time to really understand what is expected of you and what are the core functions of your job. And then the second thing I will say that's really crucial and important is to build relationships and a rapport with your coworkers and your supervisor, because that's going to go also into that first step. You'll have a better understanding of what's expected of you if you have a relationship with your other coworkers and your supervisor, and that should make it for a better transition once you've actually put in that time and attention to your job. And stay organized. I know I said I would, but that's the last one.
Time management is invaluable. So you want to make sure, you know, you maximize your efficient across the board with that. And also have integrity. When it comes down to quote character versus reputation, you know, you want to make sure reputation is who people think you are, character is who you are. So come in there.
Say it again, Marco. Say it again, Marco. Say that again.
Your reputation is people think you are, and character is who you really are. So you want to make sure you come in and you have integrity as you're doing that job that you've been hired for within those 90 days and beyond. You also want to even look into industry organizations. It's been mentioned a few times here. How do you ask a mentor to be your mentor? How do you find different things? Well, if you join, it's an organization called NAMIC, and I'm the past president of the Southern California chapter. It's the National Association for Multi-Ethnicity in Communications, based in New York and local chapters around the country. So within there, they have a mentoring program. Within Women in Cable and Telecommunication, WIC, they have a mentoring program. So you can have the formal mentors. And like Anya mentioned when she was talking about also the sponsors, you can have a sponsor or ambassador. And those are the people that speak on your behalf. They're your allies. You know, if somebody asks about you, you don't want them to say, oh yeah, I think they work here. No, you want them to be able to talk about what's your goal and vision and accomplishments and those things.
I was just going to say and add to what Anya and Marco mentioned about getting to know the inner workings of your team and understanding those office dynamics. And for those who might not know how to do that, setting up one-on-ones, scheduling time with those team members that are on your team first. And then as you understand your role and how you're working cross-functionally with other teams, set up one-on-ones with those partners as well. You're going to need to build trust with these folks. And as Marco mentioned, building allies and advocates for you. So it's important to set up those one-on-ones, understand the office and team dynamics within those first 90 days. And then I also put onboard, take the time to onboard. I know we all like want to rush and get into the work, but no, there's so much information being thrown at you. Take that time, you'll never get it back. So take that time to fully understand your role, understand how you work, understand how your work impacts the business before really diving into the work.
Just to add on that, I have like my 3 E's: engagement, education, and experience. So engagement, who do you need to connect with in those first 90 days and those key experts? And also one thing that I would definitely advise is to get involved in employee resource groups. That is an important area for you to definitely tap into, and it will definitely help you with your network. So employee resource groups, and if there isn't one in the company, organization, or business that you're in, make it Do it, put one together, reach out to those that are experts to help you. The other one, education, think of what are some of the resources and tools that the organization or the company offers that you can take advantage of that will help you build skill sets and your roadmap. And then the experience piece is obviously kind of creating your 30, 60, 90 roadmap of what you would like to gain while you're there, and what value can you bring to the table. And then just last but not least that I would want to say is give yourself time. Just because you're in a role for 6 months, 1 year does not mean you are on, you got to keep going for the next. Yes, but you got to make sure you master what you're working on in order for you to get to the next level. So something just to kind of think through as you're building that.
I'd like to say this for our panelists. You have a couple specific questions. If you all wanted to look yourselves in the Q&A feature down there, a couple people have some questions that they may want to connect with you thereafter, or specifically direct questions. Couple things. Danique wants to know, what does it meant by onboards? I wanted to ask clarification for our first gen. What is onboarding, number one, and what is an ERG? Can you give an example so that the students know what an employee resource group is for
Yes.
women, for people of color, for African Americans, et cetera, et cetera?
So when I first joined Netflix, we didn't have an official ERG, but when I joined, one of our VP of HR resources, she came to me, she's a Black woman, she was just like, there's this group at Netflix, you have to be a part of it. And it was a group for all Black employees to come together in solidarity and support one another as it relates to the business. We now have multiple ERGs around the globe. I'm a part of Black which is Black employees at Netflix. We also have our Somos group for Latinos, Latinx employees at Netflix, as well as our AAPI ERGs, disability ERGs, et cetera. As far as onboarding, that is the training period while you are first starting your job, whether it's 90 days, whether it's the first 3 months, 4 months, where you're able to just take the time and soak in as much information as possible, do all the reading, establish those connections, ask all the questions that are going to help you do your job once it comes time for you to start the actual work.
The only thing I'll say is if they don't have one, create one. My last insurance company that I worked for didn't have anything like that at all. So I started it myself because I felt like there weren't as many of us in that space, and we needed a space to be able to commune together. And so don't be afraid to step out and create something if it's not available for you.
I love that. I love
And-
that.
Just to tie it back to college, our employee resource groups remind me of those cultural organizations on college campuses. So the African American Association, I was a part of Adelante Estudiantes Latinos, AEL, all of these organizations in college are now in the professional space. We have similar organizations for us to act as a resource for you in the workplace. So I just wanted to tie it back to how that works with college groups as well.
And then one thing just to add is when you are creating an employee resource group, make sure it ties back to the company goal and the company mission.
Right.
This is not just I want to vent group, and kind of throw all my dirty laundry out there. This is really an opportunity for you to see, how does this align with the business? How does this align with the mission? It does take some time and some work, so something to really kind of think through on that.
That's a very good point. I'm a former board member and current member and chairperson with the 100 Black Men of Los Angeles. So I can tie that in with various things we're doing within the organization, things of that nature. And of course, as I mentioned, with NAMIC being one of the past presidents of the Southern California chapter. So there's various ways to tie in your organizations, whether you're dealing with community relations or different groups within the company, and also how they can also work to benefit other nonprofits and things you may be in connection with.
For those of you in your first 90 days, just try to stand out. You really need to just put in the work and let people see that you're putting in the work. And as others said, to learn what you do, learn what other people do as well, because you need to know the hierarchy of the places you're working at, and you need to know the pecking order, because you don't know who's who. And just be nice to everybody, because if you walk into the kitchen one day and you say the wrong thing to the wrong person, you might be in a bad place. But also on the other end is be nice to people, because sometimes they're at the bottom and they're at the top later, and they'll remember that you were nice to them. So just want to say
that people want to know, are you still in touch with my soror, Kamala?
It's so funny that you're saying that because I'm answering those questions, those typing in. So
Oh, okay.
you know, not as much. I would see her at homecoming and those kind of things. She won't be at homecoming anytime soon, you know, because they'd have to vet the entire campus before they can bring her on now and those things. So I would run into her at fundraisers or homecoming and things of that nature. But she's a little busy now, so
A little bit.
we may not keep in touch as much. A lot of her line sisters I'm very close with. And of course, when she was running for Senate and then for the vice president role, a number of the fundraisers and those things in attendance. So again, we're all beaming with joy from Howard that she's in that role and really excited about that. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm a member of the Divine Nine, as you mentioned, your soror. So of course we have that connection there as well.
Well, I saw your pin on your lapel.
There you go. There you go.
I wasn't sure if because diamonds and pearls go so well together.
Diamonds, all diamonds. So remember Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated.
Shout out to the D9. Yes, everybody. Who has been your the biggest professional inspiration for you during your career?
I'll start with that. And I'm glad Augie said it, that we don't have to say one person because it is kind of difficult. But I think in starting off my boss at BET, you know, I was coming from radio and now I'm getting to the cable TV space and getting an opportunity there. So that was a nice transition and opportunity for me. Also, my supervisor when I left cable TV and got to the broadcast side of the business, whole different side of, you know, the coin there where you're going from distribution and things within cable to now dealing with broadcast TV. And then I think currently my role and where the vision was seen that, you know, my skill set of marketing and D&I is now can be transferable over into human resources. And as I told you, I'll handle everything from investigations to heading up recruiting to dealing as the point person with 401k, and then as the TV production partner for a number of our shows, which include Big Brother, which include Wipeout, which include the Housewives of Atlanta and Potomac, which include Lego Masters, which includes MasterChef, MasterChef Junior, Deal or No Deal, Kardashians, and so many more. Whether it's Below Deck Mediterranean, Below Deck Caribbean, so many are within that portfolio. So I think it took all of them. And I think also too, knowing as I was going in there, you have to think of yourself as a brand. So as you're preparing yourself, think of yourself as what differentiates yourself from the other candidates. What differentiates yourself from anything across the board, whether it's speaking another language, whether it's open to travel, whether it's, you know, taking that creative aspect and getting that Emmy, whether it's becoming that attorney and starting your own business and those things. So with all of those things, you think about what's your brand and what makes you unique and valuable for the entity.
I'd probably say until this day, one of my greatest inspirations is a Black woman named Joyce Foster. I met her when I was at the tender age of 23. She worked for Boeing at that time in the Defense, Space and Security Department. We were both actually getting our masters at that time. And until this day, she's already retired. But little did I know that this woman has probably been my guiding light, even until today. She has been one that never sugarcoats anything. She really asks me very tough questions to think through. When there's kind of a move, a career change, or something of the sort, I always kind of go to her and just kind of make sure that one, I'm bouncing my ideas off of her. She never gives me what I want to hear, but really helps me kind of think through things. And I think that's really important for the mentor to help you guide you through that process as well. And I think in terms of just mentors along the way, they've all kind of been very seasonal, but she's been very consistent. I think the other thing, I've just been very blessed with having amazing people along the way as well. Now my boss, my manager, she's really, I don't like calling her my boss. I really like she's an amazing leader. And I just look up to her because she has been one that has believed in me from day one and has given me these opportunities to be where I am today. So I always cheer for those great leaders. So those of you that do manage people, or in the process of managing people, may you continue to be a great leader because you're giving them that experience that maybe many of us may not be able to have. So super excited to be able to be part of or have this mentor. So find yourself a good mentor, ask the question, don't be afraid, don't be scared. Most people always want to help. So I think it's just maybe asking and ask and you shall receive.
That's good. That's good. Marvis, most influential person.
Well, I've been extremely blessed to have some amazing women in my life, both family members and professional. As I reflect on the course of my career, it's mostly women of color that have been the one to go to bat for me, to advocate for me, to be that mentor. And I just want to give all the female professionals that are on this panel right now your flowers and shout out because you make a huge impact and difference in the workplace. My grandmother, being raised by my grandparents, she is definitely a professional inspiration for me. God willing, she'll be 93 in May. She was a registered nurse, born in 1928. And growing up, she would always tell me, if the next man can do it, so can you. And we haven't even spoken about all the different things that we as people of color face in the workplace, such as microaggressions and racism and preferential treatment and all of that. But it's those things that my grandmother instilled in me growing up that has helped me push through in the workplace. Specifically, one of my first jobs in entertainment, I was working for someone that I'd like to refer to as the Devil Wears Prada. And, my grandmother could see in my face on a Sunday, I was getting ready to leave her house and get ready to start my calm down before the work week started on Monday. And she was just like, "What's wrong with you? Why do you look like that? Like something's eating you up." And I'm just like, "Grandma, like this boss, I don't understand. Like she just doesn't like me. It's tough. Like she treats me this way." And she's just like, "Marvis, don't let someone's crazy make you crazy. Do not do that." And she was just like, "You have X, Y, and Z to bring to the table. Show up and get it done. Do not let this woman impact you and the man that you are." And I'm so grateful for that conversation. I'm so grateful for many conversations that I've had with my grandmother and other female leaders in the workplace that have gotten me to where I'm at today. So I just want to thank you all. Yeah.
I love it. Anya.
Yeah, I mean, I have so many mentors and people that have just poured themselves into me. So it's hard to pick one person. But one person that does come to mind is one of the current deans at UConn Law School, Karen Dimiola. And the reason why I point her out is because she's seen me when I first started law school. And while she was someone I could go to for advice, she was like the dean of diversity. I remember when I had like legit racism that was going on in my class, I went to her in tears and telling her how I felt, not feeling confident. And she's sort of seen the shift of sort of my growth and development. And it's gotten to the point where now I am able to help her and assist her. We're on certain boards on a class, which they now have for diversity and inclusion. And so I think it's important too, when you're talking about mentors and sponsors, that, the relationship goes both ways, right? So it's not just about what they can do for you, but what can you do for them? And when you have that genuine connection and relationship with the person, they really start to become sort of friends. And you have the ability to really connect with them on an intimate level. And so I point her out just because she's done so much, but there's just so many people out there that have been helpful to me. So I just want to encourage everyone, if you see somebody that you admire, reach out to them and make that ask, but keep speaking up, keep speaking out, and keep doing what you want to do, and people are going to see your excellence, and those doors are going to open up for you.
That's good. Thank you. Augie.
Yeah, thank you so much. My probably biggest mentor is a man by the name of Louis J. Horvitz. He has directed the Grammys, he has directed the Oscars, he's even directed the Emmys. And one of the Emmys, and I happened to be working on that show, and I gained a relationship with him because I think he's part Cuban, and he saw that I was one of the only POCs on the Oscar staff, and he took a liking to me, and I would deliver scripts to his house in the Hollywood Hills, and I would see him in the office with my positive attitude, and he took a liking to me. And at that Emmy Awards, after he won, I saw him at the after party. I said, "Hey, Louis J, can I take a picture with you and your Emmy?" He's like, "Oh yeah, absolutely." So he pulls me together. He's like, "Hold on." He whispers to me, he's like, "Hold on to the Emmy." And I was like, and he's like, "Because this is your future." And I was blown away. I'd never had anybody say something so nice to me in my life like that. Outside my parents, of course, but you don't listen to them, right? So this guy who has all these accolades is telling me this is my future. And I was like, oh my God. And I worked with him for years after that, working beside him in the video truck. And I watched him. I watched how meticulous he was with how he marked his script and the perfectionism. He put the work in and he expected everybody else to put the work in. So, you rise to the level of the people you work with and that you admire. You can't get better unless you work with the best. And so luckily for me, I got to work with somebody who was the best, and he took me under his wing, shined his light on me, and years later, I fulfilled the destiny that he prophesied, and it was such an amazing feeling. And then recently, he actually called me a few months ago, and he reached out to me for advice because he saw I had worked on the Emmy Awards, bringing in all the live feeds, and I'd worked on another show doing it. I'd been part of this new technology, and he called me because he was going to direct the Golden Globes, and he was asking my advice, and I was like, "Whoa, this is so awesome!" And it was just like Anya says, it's a give and take too. You know, you're going to give back to that person too, and he's been a great mentor to me and helped me get a lot of what I've got. And I didn't ask him. He actually reached out to me multiple times and said, whatever you want to do, I want to help you get it. And that's a pay it forward mentality that I try to bring forward now, which is why I'm doing this, which is why I do a lot of other college experiences. And I get such a kick out of it. And it all starts from that guy who took me under his wing. So I appreciate him.
You said you rise to the level of the people that you work with. You rise to the level of the people who you chill with too. You rise to the level of the people you work out with. You rise to the level of the people who you shop with. Everything, it works in every sector of life, not just work, all right? The people you study with, the people who you talk with, so on and so forth. Thank you so much, everybody. Here's how we're going to close this final word of wisdom. Notice I call it a word. Final word of wisdom. Everybody watching knows that you can connect with all of these fantastic professionals on their LinkedIn, thereafter, or as many of them have mentioned, Clubhouse, you've sent them messages directly. I want the final word. I want you to send our viewers a final word that they can take with them where they are in their collegiate experience on into their career experience. That is something that they need to keep close and always regard and remember. Let's leave them with one final word, literally one word. Let's start with you, Marvis.
So I was going with saying it's 3 words, trust your gut, but I guess with one word, it would be confidence. Confidence.
I love it. Confidence. Marco.
Whew, that's tough. But I would have to say, yeah, you have to find some inspiration. And I know you said 3 words or 1 word, but Nipsey Hussle, I think, said it best. He said, if you look at your people in your circle and you don't get inspired, you don't have a circle, you have a cage. So I think you need to be inspired across the board. I also had a mentee who taught me. I'm in the Hall of Fame for the Youth Mentoring Connection. And she stated, the sky can't be the limit if there's footprints on the moon. So I think it's certain things you just have to grasp and go for things. Be inspired, be innovative, be creative. I know this is a lot more than that 1 word. Continue to reach out. It's an organization, the National Latina Businesswomen's Association from LA, and I'm on their advisory board. So you have to be out there, get out your comfort zone, as was mentioned by Anya and a number of others, and you want to just make sure you can make an impact and be involved.
That's good. Anya.
So my word is always going to be value. When I talk about value, it's an acronym which stands for using your voice to advocate so others can learn and understand your excellence. That's it.
Love it. Oh, love that. Augie.
Positivity.
Positivity.
I'd probably say persevere. I will tell you, and Marco, and I'm sure others who Marvis, most of us that probably grew up in not the best of neighborhoods. Growing up in Inglewood and being to where we are now is amazing. My husband is from South Central, and he is an amazing, accomplished man as well, a Marine veteran. Works for an amazing Fortune 500 company. So persevere, regardless of where you're coming from, your class, your social status, whatever it is, it's all you. It's all you. And if you're someone of faith like I am, God is going to be with you and he will guide you. Put your faith in him and he will show you the way. So persevere.
Thank you so much. Panelists, thank you so much.